So if the idea is that history has consequences, of course that's true. That's not wokeness.
Yeah.
That is not wokeness. What wokeness suggests is that fundamental institutions in American society
No, it doesn't. I am a representative of wokeness.
Okay, well,
and that's just, this is all it is.
Well, I mean,
when I went to go get my first tattoo, the guy had lightning bolts and 88s tattooed on his neck. And as a Jewish person, that's really messed up. It's basically a threat.
There's with this because this is going in weird directions, and I don't really want to.
No, it's not going in a weird direction. I don't really want to get.
Just hold up a second. I let you get out your arguments, and now it's time for me to respond. So that's not what wokeism is. Wokeism is a different thing. Wokeism suggests that all inequalities of today are attributable to not only historic injustices, but also continuing injustices in the now, and that all disparity is attributable to discrimination.
Like that, but a conservative.
Not just that. Not just that.
A conservative is the only person. I want to know why. Why is it that conservatives are the only people who define it like that?
We're going to have to stop here because this is going nowhere. And final point. If you are going to hold on, if you are.
That got really messy. Ben Shapiro did another one of his, I guess, college tours where he's trying to convince young folks of how wrong they are, or people that support him, how right they are and how they should continue to push back against others. He got into a back and forth there, which he has recently in the past with other college students. This was an Iowa State University student, and apparently he had ties as an organizer with the Elizabeth Warren campaign. So maybe he had a few more pieces of information or direct experience with the field of politics and campaigning and wokeness, apparently, because the argument there, Dan, was about wokeness. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I always remember thinking, the term about woke and everything wasn't something that libs came up with. It wasn't something that progressives came up with. They just kind of lived and then brought up policies and things that we'd like to change and think about. And then the term started becoming negative coming from conservatives. Well, you guys are just too woke, which made me go, awake is a good thing when it comes to being aware of your world. And the opposite of that is just being asleep, but they're advocating for the opposite. Again, woke became a negative term and now we're debating over what it really means.
Yeah, like I remember comedian Michael Che put it best. Woke used to mean black people knowing that the white people are trying to kill us. Like that was supposed to be aware of. And then yeah, like exactly. Stay woke was that kind of term of knowing like when their phrases are institutional aspects of society that are meant to keep black people down. Originally in the community, that spread to other cultures, of course, that spread within politics, especially around the Trayvon Martin movement, as we remember. And then it got hijacked by the right to basically, as they always do, and they're so good at branding, really, the Democrats should take notes. But they took wokeism and woke scold and woke culture because it was a term that was scaring their audience and scaring their base. And they used it to describe any acknowledgement of racial injustice in society, anything that makes people who like to live in a bubble about America's racial history feel all disgusting inside. So when you have moments like that where Ben Shapiro does his game that he's been doing for so many years that I got bored covering it, at least since 2016, where he goes on the college campuses, he tries to play this game where he's gonna be smarter than a college student, come on their terms, and while a college student's still fully developing their ideas, and while Ben Shapiro's a well-rehearsed 30-year-old who used to be a trial lawyer, and so he's really good at arguments. He does this thing where he tries to jump into their world and get these little snippets he can put on, so we can say Ben Shapiro destroys college student with their argument. But I've made videos, people on TYT have made videos that was allowed people to get smarter to this tactic, and so people will just come up and say, hey, Ben Shapiro, address this very clear issue where you can't just brush aside wokeism or progressive culture or anything like that, because the thing he was talking about there was an instance of anti-Semitism in today's society. That should be very difficult for someone like Ben Shapiro to just brush aside, because Ben Shapiro calls out anti-Semitism, frankly, sometimes what isn't actually there. But the fact that I'm so happy to see that now we're getting this turning tide where Ben Shapiro can't just easily come into campuses and steamroll over students anymore. He's stumbling a little bit, and even though his audience is cheering him on, those are the moments where people start to go, hey, wait a minute. All this stuff isn't making sense here. And so chipping at people little by little like that, that's honestly how we start to win people to our side.
And then honestly, things like that happen near at the end where the student wanted to continue to speak, and then there's this, literally, a hand came from the darkness from behind him and just put a hand over the microphone. It was the weirdest thing. And then that didn't help Shapiro's argument, and that's gonna end up landing on him. Not the dark figure that reached a hand over the microphone. Ben Shapiro's gonna have to pay for that. Ben Shapiro then gets asked, hey, is this what conservatives and specifically you, Ben, are about? You're about censoring people? I thought we're not canceling. I thought there's no censorship. I thought we're going with free speech. All these things start to look really bad on your argument of talking about we're gonna have this exchange of ideas because I'm right, I'm so right. Hey, once it looks like you're shaking there and your argument is getting kicked around, now you need some assistance to come cover up the mic. It's an ongoing battle because if you remember in the past, there's been times that he did run from other debates when he wasn't able to talk to a college student who kicked him around a little bit. Watch this, remember this moment?
You purport to be an objective journalist. BBC purports to be an objective down the middle network. It obviously is not, it never has been, and you as a journalist are proceeding to call one side of the political aisle ignorant, barbaric, and sending us back to the dark ages. Why don't you just say that you're on the left? Is this so hard for you? Why can't you just be honest? Seriously, it's a serious question.
Mr. Shapiro, if you only knew how ridiculous that statement is, you wouldn't have said it. I just asked you a question.
And I asked you a question, you failed to answer a single one of mine. Frankly, I find this whole thing a waste of time. If you want to read the book and critique the book, why don't you read and critique the book? If you want to critique me, you can think whatever you want of me.
Why don't you
frankly,
just try and
I don't
answer
care.
the
I don't frankly give a damn what you think of me since I've never heard of you.
And I've never heard of you until I briefed myself for this.
You know, I'm not inclined to continue an interview with a person as badly motivated as you as an interviewer. So I think we're done here. I appreciate your time.
All right, well, thank you for your time and for showing that anger is not part of American political discourse. Now, Mr. Shapiro, we'll say goodbye.
He also ran from that interview once he was cornered as well. I remember that one. There was one more, Dan, before we let you have your final thoughts here. He went from college kids to a professional on broadcasting who he thought was a lib to now also younger kids. Make sure he indoctrinates them. Watch, remember this?
Government is what takes all of your money and gives you very little in return.
That is not true.
Okay, that's kind. I mean, it's kind of true. It depends on the kind of government. Yeah, that is what taxes are for. But taxes are theft, children. Taxes are the government takes a part of the money that you spend, or the money that you earn, or the property value of your house.
On useless stuff. What about debt?
Mostly yes. I mean, they're supposed to spend it on things like the police. They're not supposed to spend it on just random projects or silly things that they have in their head, and they tend to spend it on kind of silly things very often. But as you get older, you will realize how little you like taxes.
Yeah, he's way off base about that.
The kids are gonna be all right. Some of them. Last thoughts, Dan?
Yeah, it's jokes aside, unfortunately, this right-wing propaganda is very hard to fight against. So we have to always think about how are we forcing people like Ben Shapiro to be on the offense? How are we forcing them to actually defend their views and actually say, hey, why are you trying to shut people down? Hey, why are you trying to not give all the facts, the full side of the story? This is now the time for all the BS, bad faith tactics that he's used over the past 5 years. We can turn them on him and he's gonna look like an absolute dumbass the entire time.